There's a few things to talk about after the season opener at Daytona. The first news item is that driver Ashton Russell suffered bruised ribs in his wreck last week, however he will still race today. The second news item is that driver Carlton Zuniga was diagnosed with a concussion after his wreck at Daytona and he will be sidelined until Cariala. The final note is that Dong My Apologies, our pit reporter, has been put on probation after causing multiple wrecks at Daytona. Shame on you. Onto the starting grid for today's race here in California. Tavion Cobb won the pole with Garrett Banks to his outside. As the starting grid scrolls by, you may notice new names you haven't seen before. That's due in part to most of the series full-time drivers failing to qualify for Daytona last time out, and this is their first race of the season. And one more news item before I forget, the Olympica teams are on the back foot early to start the season, because only one of their cars qualified for Daytona while the rest of them DNQ'd. So those teams are in a tough spot to start the season and need a massive rebound to make up lost ground. And for the races going forward, each race will have 38 full-time drivers and 4 independent/part-time drivers, which brings the field total to 42 cars for each race. As we look at the back half of the grid, Jalapeno, Kevin Stevenson, row 20, and the final row, Matteo Valentino and Jake Blondie. As the field comes down the front straightaway to look for the green flag here, Tavion Cobb leading the field down for the first time in his career, and the green flag is out as everybody in the field has started jostling for position to try to get the best run going into turn 1. Jay Baldy's already forced it somewhat 3 wide, taking the middle lane away from Garrett Banks. As Tavion Cobb gets a great run on the turn 1, an even better run coming into 2. As the field is 3 wide behind him, contact between the 46 of Garrett Banks and the 13 of Russ Palmer as Cobb starts to scoot away in the number 40 car. I mentioned in the pre-race about the Olympica teams being on the back foot early. Well, this is going to compound their issues even further. Daisuke Hiroshimi in the number 30 car making his first start of the season. Lost the transmission on the start. Tried to shift in the second gear and the transmission completely went kaput. He is done before he even gets 100 feet past the start finish line. However, that wouldn't be the only problem on the start of the race. We're focused on Clay Marcells in the 01 car here. As you see the 30 car blowing up in the back. Going into turn 1, Marcellus is going to hook the right rear of the 06 Dustin Harris, take both of them into the wall. I don't know what that was about, but it looks like Marcellus is trying to get too much too early, especially after he failed to qualify last week. As you see Dustin Harris pulling off to the inside. Back up front with Tavion Cobb in the 40 car. This is only his 3rd career start in the Rejectcar Elite Series, and he got his first pole award, so looking to build some momentum here. He's kind of been labeled as the slower of the 2 Jorkanet racing cars, but it's looking like today he might have the fastest car today and could be a contender to win the race. So, proving the haters wrong, I guess. Running in second is Independence Trophy competitor Tony Baloney, making his first start of the season in number 19 for Slappin' Salami Racing. Both of his 2 teammates, Tommy Salami and Jabroni Pepperoni, made the Daytona race. He failed to qualify, unfortunately, but now he's making a nice rebound here. The first caution of the race will be on lap number 2, as we're focused on Cooper Key here in the 61. Gonna go off in the turn 1 and gets a bump from John Baldy Jr. in the 48, takes the key and banks hard into the outside wall. A little early to be roughing each other up like that, and that would take Key and Banks out of the race. Under the caution, Tavion Cobb came into pit road to pull a little strategy on the rest of the field, and that put the 19 of Tony Baloney in the lead of the race for the restart. That's Joey Davidson, the 44, and Alex Constantine, the 76 behind him. Davidson is also making his first start of the season in number 44 for Racing Therapy Incorporated, as he tried to make it look to the inside of Tony Baloney, however it did not work. As Baloney is now getting a nice run down the back straightaway, as the 44 and 76 are now battling for second. I see the very back end of the shot, there's the 80 of Jacob Loring, that pink car with the black number on it. Jacob Loring is also making his first start of the season after he failed to qualify for Daytona. As Davidson gets a run underneath the 19 down the front straightaway, however, he may not be able to complete the pass. He needs a good run into turn 1 to make it happen. And he's going to get it as Baloney really has to check up going into 1, and the 44 Davidson takes the lead. This blue and yellow 54 car, this is Jackson Maitland. If you were watching the broadcast for the first qualifying race, you would have saw that Maitland was in contention to make the sniff in less than 100. However, his car died on him on the final lap, which knocked him out of the contention to make the race. But now he's back here with his first start of the season. He's another one of these series regulars, as he's making a pass on to Jacob Lauren for 3rd place. Coming down the back straightaway on the same lap, you see the 86 of Dream Abdul Sagar force it 3 wide on the 54 and the 80. This is going to be really sketchy going into turn 3. Oh, Jacob Lauren just crossed over in front of the 54, completely took the air off the nose and forced him to check up. And here is the 86 of Dream Abdul Sagar making his first start of the season for Cigars in Paris LLC. Dream is French and is one of the tallest drivers in this series. He is 6'10". And he made a transition from a basketball career to stock car racing a couple years ago. And he's been pretty impressive in his limited starts. He scored a top 15 at Spa-Francorchamps last season in a limited run. As he does battle with Ronnie Hawkins in the 42, kind of surprised to see him up front. But Dream is looking to go full-time this season. Actually, he is going full-time. And it's going to be interesting to see if he can actually compete for a championship. Our second caution of the day comes on lap 11. Stephen Bennett and Jay Baldy get together. Bennett leans on the 45 and sends him up into the outside wall. That just looked like 2 drivers just going for the same piece of real estate, and eventually someone had to give here, and that someone was the 45 of Jay Baldy. Here's another look at it. This is from our second television camera. Yep, the 0 and the 45 both went for the same spot, and the 0 just didn't let off the gas and just drove the 45 up into the wall. Now we have an onboard shot. This is from Ruben Burns in the 47, who is right behind these 2. Yeah, Baldy and Bennett went for the same spot, and Bennett just gave Baldy no room. Completely stayed in the gas the whole way around. That could incur a post-race penalty, but we'll wait and see if that happens. The race went back green on lap 16 as Tommy Salami became the leader throughout the whole mess we just seen. As you see, Tavion Cobb in the 40 car has made his way back up to 2nd place, and he's brought along his teammate Keon Parker in the 14 with him. As Cobb peeks to the inside of the 9 car, and he's going to completely drive it all the way in there to get the run off too. And his run's going to succeed, as he's going to get the run down the back straightaway and pull away. As Keon Parker in the 14 is going to follow his teammate and try to get around the 9 as well to make a Dorkanet Racing 1-2 at the front. No, Parker had to check up in the corner, but here comes Tommy Salami back on the outside. And as see, the 42 of Ronnie Hawkins has made his way up to the top 5. A great run for the Duncan after they were underpowered a little bit. A little bit back further in the field as we look at our independent drivers. This is Jalapeno in the number 74 for Hot Jalapeno Racing. Jalapeno attempted a few races last season, didn't qualify for any of them. And he's making his first career start in this series in his own number 74. However, the race wouldn't stay green for too long, as on the next lap, lap 17, we had our 3rd caution of the day. Jackson Maitland in the 54 gets hooked in the back by Tony Baloney in the 19 and goes up into the outside wall and completely smashes the rear end into the car. Maitland would continue on, however, he would be off the pace for the rest of the day. However, we had a close moment here with Kelvin Stevenson in 63. If you saw in the first angle of it, he did get clipped by the 54. He's on the high lane here. There goes the 54, gets clipped in the left rear and manages to save the car from spinning out. So, great piece of driving there from Kelvin Stevenson in the 63 car. He ran top 10 at Daytona last week and I finished in 9th, so great run for him so far and a great miss. The race would restart on lap 22, Tavion Cobb getting the lead back from Tommy Salami before the caution had come out. The Dorkanet Racing team is new to full-time competition this season with Tavion Cobb and Keon Parker as their drivers, as mentioned previously. Parker won at Daytona and Bathurst last year, and Tavion Cobb's kind of been the black sheep of the team, but he's showing that he can hang. But not right now, as Tommy Salami and Keon Parker both blow by the 40 car going down the back straightaway, and that is Zaylin Foster in the 83 following the 14 in the 94 Max Throwin, trying to make this a 5-car battle for the lead. The racing here at California is similar to Super Speedway racing you see at Daytona and Talladega. As you see, Max Throwin trying to force it 4 wide going into turn 1. Hopefully they get this settled. Yep, barely, but that could have been a lot worse. One car marching his way to the front is the number 0 of Stephen Bennett, who finished 5th at Daytona last time out. He's already under investigation for his incident with Jay Baldy earlier in the race, but looks like after that incident, he's finally kind of cleaned up his act here, and he's making his charge to the front. He's already passed Max Throwin for 3rd, or at least he's trying to, coming down the straightaway. But later on in that same lap, Bennett would jump for the lead, forging it 3 wide with Zaylin Foster and Tommy Salami. Salami had to check up so really bad, and Bennett's able to get ahead of everybody and start to pull away. He's brought the 20 of Gustavo Silva Rodriguez, also making his first start of the season and his last season's champion in the 20 car. Another driver that's been circling around the top 15, this is John Baldy Jr. making his first start of the season in the number 48 for the Baldy family racing team. Baldy Jr. made only 3 starts last season, and his best finish so far, which was 11th at Mount Panorama, also known as Bathurst. Baldy Jr. is not known as a road course driver despite having his best career finish on a road course. He's mainly a high-speed oval guy, mainly speedways like this here at California, or the bigger, larger super speedways like Daytona and Talladega. It has always been a competition between him and his brother Jay Baldy, but right now, John Jr. is getting the best of him as Jay is now multiple laps down and is running towards the back half of the grid. As for John Jr., he's looking really strong, running in the top 10 right now, and it looks to be a threat for the championship this season. Another driver that's on the move just past the halfway point in this race is Jabroni Pepperoni in the Slap and Salami Racing number 09 car. Jabroni is running for the Independence Trophy just like the rest of his teammates at the Slap and Salami Racing team. Jabroni made Daytona last week and he finished 14th in that race, and he beat out his team owner by 2 spots. Jabroni is a rookie in this series and is looking to possibly go full-time for next season though. However, the 4th caution of the day would come out on lap 27. Kevin Flagrant makes contact with Tavion Cobb, takes Cobb and the 57 of Bryce fencing hard into the outside wall. Surprisingly, neither car will drop out of the race, however, they are off the pace for the rest of the day. The race restarted on lap 32 with Stephen Bennett as your leader. However, he's got Gustavo Silva Rodriguez right behind him, who's trying to rebound after failing to qualify for Daytona, even after he won the championship at Mount Panorama last season. Kind of a bad look for the Night Train Racing team when you win the championship but fail to qualify for the season opener in the next race. Oh, Rodriguez gets really aggressive on the restarts, trying to move the 0 out of the way. However, Bennett holds tight and is going to be able to scoot away from the 20 going down the back straightaway, along with the 94 Max Trethrowen in tow. Trethrowen is also trying to rebound after he failed to qualify for Daytona as well. The 5th and final caution of the day would come out on lap 33, and it would turn out to be the biggest wreck of the day. Francesco Valentino, trying to help his younger brother Matteo, gets in the back of him and causes a multi-car pileup on the back straightaway. Joe Vivek's involved, Ronnie Hawkins, as Francesco goes spinning down towards the infield. Francesco would continue on, however. Here's another look at the wreck focused on Matteo Valentino. Gets hooked by the 4 into Jordan Kosovo, bounces off the outside wall, and Jake Bondy comes up the racetrack and hits him square in the driver's door. Matteo would continue on despite the damage. Now we're going to focus on the 15 of Jake Blondie to see how he got involved in this. Wreck starts in front of him, gets on the brakes, gets clipped by the 4 Francesco Valentino, and slides up into the 2 of Matteo. Trying to hold it on the apron, slides it back across the racetrack, and gets tagged from the back by the 63 of Kelvin Stevenson. Both Stevenson and Blondie would continue on, however. Now we're focusing on the 71 of Jordan Kosovo, who was kind of caught in the middle here. Gets hit by the 2 and gets spun into the 86 of Dream Abdul Sagar, and both of them go spinning down to the infield. However, him and Sagar get their cars righted and they will both continue on. You've probably seen the 19 spinning in several shots. We're going to find out what happened to him. This is Tony Baloney behind the wheel. Wreck starts in front of him, almost makes it through, but then Jake Bondy comes up the racetrack, pins him against the wall. He gets hit by Kelvin Stevenson in the 63 and by Dale Tager in the 23. And then Tager gets absolutely nailed by the 40 of Tavion Cobb. Baloney would continue on somehow. Here we are on board with the 40 car of Tavion Cobb, who led laps earlier today. Rex starts in front of him, trying to find a way to go. Goes high, and that hole closes up and spears the 23 right in the driver's door. Cobb would be done for the day. However, under this caution, Zaylen Foster would have to relinquish 3rd place due to a cut tire due to running over debris from the big wreck on the back straightaway. That would ruin his chances to win the race. The race would restart with 11 laps to go on lap 38. Bennett is the leader with Trethrowen, Pepperoni, Salami in the top 4. Bennett's trying to hold off the 94 going into turn 1. Trethrowen dives it down to the inside. He's got the run halfway through the turn. However, the outside line is going to get the momentum off the corner, as Bennett's going to show right here, and it's going to lead to a drag race down the back straightaway. They are neck and neck going down the back straightaway. Who's going to get the edge first? Usually it's the inside line. Trethrowen's starting to pull ahead. Here comes the 09 of Jabroni Pepperoni to give him a little bit of an arrow push. And Max Trethrowen will take the lead coming off turn 4. As Max Trethrowen gets the lead coming to 10 laps to go here. He's got Jabroni Pepperoni behind him. And the engine lets go on car number 09. Oh, what a shame for him. He was running in the top 5. Surprisingly, the caution doesn't come out with the 09 blowing up, but the race is still on for the lead as Stephen Bennett jumps to the inside of Max Verstappen, bringing Tommy Salami with him. Bennett has to check up slightly in turn 3, however he's going to get the run coming out into turn 4, and Bennett's going to power through and get the lead back. However, Bennett wouldn't be safe for too long as Gustavo Silva Rodriguez in the 20 cars now marches his way back toward the front and is hounding Bennett for the lead coming down the back straightaway. Rodriguez is going to force it 3 wide with Bennett and Verstappen, is looking to dive bomb it going into 3. However, Bennett's going to get the run going into 3 and gets a massive run going into 4. However, just 1 lap later, Rodriguez would chase down Bennett, running one of the fastest laps of the race, and is going to set him up going into turn 1. Bennett's trying to defend here, however, Rodriguez shoots to the inside, and Rodriguez looks to take the lead coming out of turn 2 here, and he will, and is finally going to put the pedal down and scoot away with the lead. Rodriguez is trying to redeem himself after he failed to qualify for Daytona after he just won the championship last season. So this race is definitely a much needed confidence booster for him and the Night Train Racing team. And speaking of the Night Train Racing team, this is Rodriguez's teammate, the 50 car of Ashton Russell. Russell was involved in a pretty nasty hit at Daytona last time out, however he was cleared to race, and in this shot he's running in the top 10. So a great redemption arc for him. Russell moved over to the Night Train Racing team after he ran for a European domination in the number 5 car last season. Russell ran really well for that team, so that's how he got the second seat here in the Night Train Racing team, and it's showing to everyone in the paddock that he deserved the ride, especially coming off a pretty nasty injury. Going back to the topics of series regulars that failed to qualify for Daytona last time out, here are 2 of them, the 73 of Zeke Miller and the 82 of Kareem Abdul-Najjar. Both these guys are running full-time this season, but were a part of the massive D&Q list for Daytona, so this is technically their first starts of the season. Miller is currently running in 11th, and Abdul-Najjar is running in 12th. If you look at the back half of this shot, you'll see the 80 of Jacob Lauren and the 38 of Donghui Who's Your Daddy. Both drivers also failed to qualify for Daytona. It's like this is a continuation of the previous shot of the other series regulars who also failed to qualify for Daytona. This is the number 86 of Jareem Abdul-Sagar, and to his inside the black and red number 01 of Clay Marcellus. You'll see the red, yellow, and black number 71 of Jordan Kosovo. And at the very back end of that shot, you'll see the orange and black number 44 of Joey Davidson. And there's the 38 of Donghui Who's Your Daddy, who also failed to qualify for Daytona. Not like I haven't said that phrase enough today. Gustavo Silva Rodriguez thought he was going to ride into the sunset with a victory today. However, the 48 of John Baldy Jr., making his first start of the season, denies him and is going to blast by him and take the lead from him with only 3 laps to go in the race. However, Rodriguez wasn't so keen on giving the lead up very easily. He's going to charge back and try to get the 48 car again, coming down the front straightaway here. Baldy Jr. runs him down. They're both in a drag race going down into turn 1. Whoever gets the momentum into the corner usually comes out of the corner with the lead. Rodriguez had the momentum in the 1, however he has to check up in the middle of the corner and allows Baldy Jr. to take the lead back coming off turn 2. I see Alex Constantine, number 76, and Stephen Bennett in the 0 have now joined this battle and made it a 4-car battle for the lead. Constantine shoves it in there 3 wide and completely kills the 20 car's momentum. I don't think Rodriguez is going to be too happy about that move. However, that's going to allow Baldy Jr. to build a lead and slightly get away from him. John Baldy Jr. has now taken the white flag here. He's got clear room in front of him, only has 1 lap car to deal with, that is the 19 of Tony Baloney. The rest of the field behind him is running 2 wide and just basically killing each other's momentum. Tommy Salami is currently leading the second pack. There's about 7-8 cars in that pack. Baldy Jr. gets past the 19 and now has clear room in front of him. And coming off turn 4 here, John Baldy Jr., making his 4th career start in the Rejectcar Elite Series, wins his first career Rejectcar Elite Series race here at the California Speedway. And here are the results. John Baldy Sr. wins the race in his 4th career start. Tommy Salami finishes 2nd in a great run for him. Alex Constantine comes home 3rd. Zeke Miller comes home 4th. Gustavo Silva Rodriguez fell down to 5th after being passed for the lead, but still a great top 5 for him on his first start of the season. Stephen Bennett comes home in 6th. That is now 2 top 10 finishes for him so far. Jalapeno, the number 74 car, a great run for him. He's running for the Independence Trophy, so that's very beneficial to him. Keon Parker, making his first start of the season, finishes 8th. Kareem Abdul-Najjar, top 10 in his first start of the season. And Ashton Russell, after his Daytona injury, comes home and gets a top 10 finish. And here's 11th through 20th. Jacob Lauren comes home 11th, Russ Palmer 12th, Donghui Who's Your Daddy 13th, and a great run for the Olympica team, or the Olympica Javelin I should say. Dream Abdul-Sagar 14th, Jordan Kosovo, another Olympica, comes home 15th, Joey Davidson 16th, Clay Marcellus 17th, Jose Rodriguez 18th, Derek Lewis 19th, and for the second race in a row, Zaylen Foster finishes 20th. And here are the point standings after California. Tommy Salami is the points leader, which he's made both races so far and has finished pretty well. Stephen Bennett is second, he's the highest of the full-time drivers. Valor Christensen third, Alex Constantine in fourth, Jose Rodriguez fifth. Giovanni Nixon, the Daytona winner, is sixth. He didn't run this race. John Body Jr. with his win moves up to 7th in points. Russ Palmer 8th. Dustin Harris has fell to 9th. Zaylen Foster is 10th. Kelvin Stevenson falls to 11th. Bryce Fencing stays where he's at in 12th. Zeke Miller moves up to 13th. Eric Hawkinson up to 14th. Gustavo Silva Rodriguez, last season's champion, is up to 15th. Rodney Hawkins is up to 16th, and a great run for the Hollywood Cardinal Racing Team. Jabroni Pepperoni and Jalapeno, two independents, are still in the top 20 in points. Ashton Russell moves up to 19th after his great run, and Keon Parker is now in 20th in points. Not much to go over with the independents other than Tommy Salami increasing his points lead after he had his runner-up finish today. Jabroni Pepperoni is second, Jalapeno is third, and the only other independent to make a start today was the 19 of Tony Maloney, and he's currently 9th. He finished pretty poorly today. But right now, it's looking like the Slap and Salami team might be the team to beat for the Independence Trophy. Well, at least Tommy Salami's looking that way. However, we still have 10 other independents yet to make starts, so it's still early in the season, so we can't really pinpoint anything down for certain. It is now time to leave the West Coast and move back to the Midwest, as the next race out is at the Texas Motor Speedway in Fort Worth, Texas. This has been Jim Format for the Reject Sports Network. See you then!